What is the fastest you have ever seen a new coworker get fired? During their onboarding training, they stole my boss's wallet on camera, 1 hour in. We had a recent college grad that would use his corporate card for personal purchases. He figured that the company would just keep deducting from his payroll until it was paid off. He was fired after 3 months of constant reminders to stop doing it. I don't think it qualifies as the fastest, because he lasted 3 months, but it was so idiotic. New guy drove a forklift into a fire hydrant, in front of a safety rep for the company. His supervisor was called over, and he immediately tells the supervisor that he won't pass a piss test, as he used his only bottle of clean piss earlier that day when he hired in. Everybody standing there immediately burst into laughter, which continued as security, also laughing, escorted him off-site. Even the supervisor was all smiles, just gave him a pat on the back and wished him the best of luck. It was wild. A week. I worked in a bar and a new girl started. At work, she seemed a little rough but was fine. One day she finished a shift, sat at the bar and ordered a red wine with lemonade and ice in it. Not really relevant to the story, just shows she is clearly insane. Her boyfriend came in, they had a huge domestic in front of my manager and several customers, and she threw her drink over her BF and dramatically stormed out. Heard this from a manager I worked with when I worked in fast food. There was this one kid who didn't show up for work. He ditched work often, so the manager called around, couldn't get anyone to fill in his shift, so she had to fill it for him. A few hours into his shift, the dude ditching shows up, with his friends, and orders food from that manager. She fired him on the spot. Congratulations, you've been promoted to a customer. I work construction. We had 2 new hires that were friends starting the same day. Boss told one take a coffee order and come back, took everyone's money and said he needed his friend to go with him cause it was a big order. They never came back. Guy got hired, while going through orientation realized that his ex-GF worked there too, turned around and walked right out the front door. My man. Worked in a grocery store for a while. New guy took a lobster out of the tank and removed the elastic bands on its claws, then proceeded to put it back in the tank. The thing murdered all the other lobsters in the tank. A 19-year-old kid got hired to work the seafood counter, see him twice and then never again, asked a coworker what happened. He had closed seafood one night, and was walking out of the store, and the 5 pounds of crab legs he'd stuffed down the back of his pants fell out in front of the closing manager. 5 days, my boss hired an executive chef. Dude didn't even know how to make a quesadilla. As a teenager, I worked at a bowling alley. Within an hour, a new girl was fired on the spot for dropping a ball on the foot of a complaining patron. A man was hired to do stock at a tea store that sold lots of delicate china. Manager walked into the back on his 3rd day and saw him just throwing boxes of teacups and teapots, instantly fired. Didn't like the boss and on the 1st day took a piss in the gas tank of his Jeep. Bragged about it and it was recorded too. About 35 minutes. I hired a guy to work for me as quality inspector for merchandise headed to Walmart and Target. He bragged about everything he stole from his last job during training and how they paid him more than I did. Well, I'm not holding him back from all that money, so I had some big guys escort him off the property. 3 hours into the first shift, guy lost it serving an annoying customer in a grocery shop, throw a cabbage at her. The manager came and told him to go home cause he finished there. He wasn't surprised. I was standing next to him. It was an entertaining day. Coworker, smoked like every 40 minutes for like 10 minutes. Then asked the boss if he could leave an hour early because he didn't take his lunch break. As my boss said, sure you can, but you don't need to come back. He didn't show up the 1st day, 2nd day, or 3rd day. I had to work a double shift for 3 days straight. Not fun. I answered the phone when he finally called in on the 4th day. He said, I'm going to be honest with you, I've been in Orlando, my parents paid for a small vacation as a reward for getting the job. Would it be okay to start next week instead of this week? 1st day of work, a coworker asks for a short break and some space in a storage closet to put down his prayer rug, was fired almost immediately. About 6 months later we were all laid off when the company went bankrupt, paying out his discrimination lawsuit.